we're actually going to change that order ever so slightly and update the cart subtotal right now. So that's actually something we'll do here. So that also means that we need to add a subtotal. And I'm going to copy the line item total from the cart item because it's virtually the same thing, and we'll just call it subtotal. Max digits, I mean, that's going to be a big subtotal if it's more than 10, but let's put 50 because we put a line item total at 10. Let's put 50. That's a lot of digits. But anyway, so we have our subtotal here, and this could be one word. Subtotal will be actually adjusted based off of the items, line items total, right? So each one of those things. So in here, I'm going to define update subtotal. It's going to take in self. And what we want to do here is actually update all the items in here. So for item in self.items.all, we're going to get the price. So the subtotal is equal to 0. And we're going to do subtotal plus equals to item.line item total. And then finally, we are going to say the subtotal, so self.subtotal is equal to this new subtotal, and then self.save. So that's going to actually update that total for us. It's going to go through each item that we have and go on with that. So since we're doing this, we might as well update that total in our cart item pre-save receiver. In fact, I'm going to do it in the post-save version of the cart item. So we'll do post-save. So post-save will happen after the item is actually saved into the database. So we'll do, and that's going to affect how this works. So we'll do define cart item post-save receiver, sender instance, and args, and keyword args. And all we're going to do here is do instance.cart.update subtotal. And that's it. That's all I really want to do here. So post-save.connect, and the receiver function is the cart item post-save receiver, and then comma sender equals to cart item. Okay, so we'll actually show this same instance happen on both of them so you can see what happens. But we actually need to put this subtotal into our database. And the cart itself is going to have a default of 0 because we will, once we add the cart item in there, we'll set it and then we will update the cart itself. So the first one will just set the default of subtotal being 0. So we'll do python manage.py, make migrations, and then we'll add a default value now, and I'll do 0.00, and python manage.py, migrate. The reason I put 0.00 instead of just 0 is because we're using a decimal field, and there's a possibility that just putting 0 might raise an error. There's also a possibility that it won't. So I just go on the safe side and say 0.00. All right, so now that we've got this, let's actually try it out. So I'll run the server. And inside of our cart view, we want to see the actual object subtotal. So I'm going to put a new line down here and do table row and close off the table row. And then I'll do td column span equals 2. Let's count the columns. I've got 1 here, 2 here, 3, 4 columns total. So column span equals to 4. And I'll give it a class of text right. And then I'll just say subtotal is equal to object.subtotal. Close off that div, that column, refresh in here, and we've got variation object has no line item total, so we have a little bit of an issue on update subtotal. And if we go back into our models here, and we've got item, so the variation item is actually not what we want to see, which makes sense, right? So it's actually the cart item that we want. So the cart items are cart items equals to, so it's actually items is equal to self.cart item set.all. Of course, it's not that many too many, so we'll change that to items and items. There we go. It's cool that it showed us that. Now if we look back in here, we've got our subtotal, and it's already calculated it for us because this was there. If that wasn't there, it wouldn't actually update it. So if we do print updating and we refresh, we can print out to see when we're actually updating it. And let's put this down to 5. Update item. It says updating, and we have a new subtotal here. Pretty cool, right? So it's actually working. Update item, new subtotal. Update item, new subtotal. Perfect. So that's really good. So that also means that since we have this subtotal, we could now start to think about how to do taxes, how to do discounts, and all that stuff inside of this cart, but it's not really something I'm going to worry about yet because I already talked about doing the request here where it's automatic and it automatically changes it depending on what they do once they stop. It would update it automatically, and to do that we use something called Ajax. Before we actually do it on the cart, I'm going to do it on the products. So the add to cart button is actually where we'll first start with this Ajax call. If you have any questions, let us know. Otherwise, let's keep going.